Hey everybody, it's Sarah Delane, the Conscious Lifestylist, and today I kind of want to challenge something. And I'm going to ask you just to sort of hear me out on this and just see if it resonates, right? So I was doing one of my signature meditations, Higher Heart Mind Coherence, where I align with my higher self, right? And sort of bring that alignment into then the connection with the physical body, right? And as I was doing that, I started doing the breathing technique, started doing the visualization, and it started bringing in all of the energy, right, into my body, all of those things. And what I noticed in that moment is I then asked to be in communication with my higher self about something, right? And this was something that, was unforeseen, something that was, didn't have a definitive outcome, right? And I wanted to connect with my higher self and find out what the outcome could be, right? As maybe you have often done with yourself, right? Check in with the higher self, check in with the intuition, right? And sort of give ourselves this barometer of where we're meant to go, right? Ultimately to create certainty, since that's what makes us feel confident in our next best step, right? Is a level of certainty. That being said, we're never guaranteed certainty, right? And trust in the higher self and spirit, right? That's sort of where that whole concept comes in, right? For trusting the higher self. And yet, how many times have you potentially also done this where you sit in your meditation, you call in your higher self, and then you ask for guidance on whatever that uncertain thing is, right? And this is exactly what I did. And something that I have done many times, right? And there's something a little different about this particular time. And see if you've ever had this similar experience where create the connection, align, and then ask the question, okay, what's going to be the outcome of whatever that is, right? What's going to happen with this? How is this going to play out, right? However you ask the question. And what happened in that moment was the answer that came through was, nope, this isn't right. It's not going to work out. It's not going to pan out. Right? And I noticed that the energy was like somewhere over here in my head. It was not in my body. It was somewhere over here. And yet it seemed like the energy coming through. And I said, wait a second. I challenged it, right? Oftentimes I'm always telling you guys, like, challenge what comes through, because we have so many different voices, and it could be a pathogen. It could like, how do you know it's your higher self, right? It could be an entity, pathogen, whatever you want to call it. Could be a lowest self. And so I challenged it, as I often do, because then I was like, wait a second, but that doesn't feel correct. It thinks like I can sense that I'm hearing that it's coming through as that particular message, but it doesn't feel correct. And even then it brought through, I said, nope, it's not going to be correct. So, because then I ask again, right? I'm like, and it comes again through saying, nope, it's not going to pan out that way. And then I noticed then that brought in doubt about this particular situation. That brought in then more uncertainty. That brought in then like a feeling of, oh, well, what am I doing here? What am I taking action around this for then, right? If it's just like not gonna pan out, like, what am I doing here? And the only answer was then, oh, you'll see. like a passive aggressive sort of higher self. Oh, you'll see. Didn't say trust. It was like, oh, you'll see. I'm like, that still doesn't feel correct. And maybe it's my rebellious side, right? But I was like, no. I am the creator of my reality. And this doesn't feel correct. And so I challenged it again. I said, I don't want to align with the vibrational possibility of that reality playing out that way. I'm choosing to align with the vibrational possibility of this being a success, right? Because everything saying that it wasn't going to work out brought in the fear then of it failing, right? And not working out, and then bringing in more uncertainty. And then I had to keep asking, that made me ask again, right? And I'm like, that's not the vibrational alignment that I would like to create. And that just seems odd for then that coming through from my higher self, right? And so I said, no, I'm not going to align with that vibrational possibility. I'm going to align my vibration with it being a possibility. Whether it pans out or not, I'm going to align my intention with the possibility of it being a success, because that's where I would like to direct my energy. After all that, I tracked everything back again, because I said, what was that situation? Why did that happen that way, right? And oftentimes I get a lot of messages from you. How do I know the difference between my higher self or something else? How do we trust more, right? How do we do all of this connection stuff with our higher self and our intuition? How do you know it's your higher self versus your intuition or ego or whatever, right? And it brought up, as I was tracking it back, I realized the mistake that I made. My intention was to do a meditation of alignment. And that's all you need, is the intention and then the action of the alignment, right? Doing a meditation that will get you aligned. Everything beyond that is trust. So the mistake that I made was, instead of then just aligning and then trusting, I went to the place of uncertainty. And in that place of uncertainty, I then felt called, inspired to ask my higher self that I had then just aligned with, right? And here's where I want to make it clear. I made a clear connection with my higher self. The voice that came through that then I thought was my higher self, because my intention was to align with the higher self, right? So easy potential to think, oh, the next voice that's coming in, it must be my higher self, because that's what my intention is to do here, right? And yet, I missed that the step in between just trusting, aligning, and then just trusting, the step in between that and my next action was uncertainty. If I had just stayed in trust, which is all we have to do, but instead, I went into the space of uncertainty. And in the space of uncertainty, I called upon a higher voice. And that is what then, that space of uncertainty is then what brought in the voice that would match the uncertainty, which is, nope, it's not going to work out. Nope, this is going to be a failure. And everything else. And so then that then had me caught, like if I had stayed in that, right, then I would have, I started even going into, oh God, this doesn't feel good. And then, like I said, like, what am I doing here? And da-da-da. And then I could have stayed spiraling down into that negative emotion. I could have stayed not taking action around that thing, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm not supposed to be here anyway, so what am I wasting my time for? Rather than backtracking and saying, okay, what happened here? And then also challenging, wait a second, this voice that's coming through that I think is my higher self, because that's what my intention is doing, but it didn't feel correct. It didn't feel congruent with my body. So that was the first indication, right? And because of that indication that it didn't feel correct in my body, that allowed me to then challenge it and say, wait a second, this doesn't sound like you're giving me clear advice, clear message, because my intention wasn't clear. If I had stayed in trust and not the need for validation, clarification, voice of certainty, voice of higher self to come in and do all the validating, right? If I would have just stayed in that trust, then that feeling would have remained. But instead I had to loop around and I had to go to uncertainty, which then from the uncertainty, I then asked to speak with the voice of higher self, which was ultimately not the voice of higher self. It's not your voice of higher self if your intention is coming from need of certainty, which stems from doubt. It's the voice of the echo from your intention. That's what was coming back to me. It's still my voice, but it's the echo of what the intention was. It matched the vibration, not the question. It matched the vibration of uncertainty, not the question of what I wanted the answer to. So if I didn't then first tap in and be like, wait a second, this doesn't feel congruent in my body, and then challenge the information coming through, and after I challenged it, then I still, and this is so important, if you take nothing else from this, I hope it's just simply that no matter what voice is coming through, you have all the power, all of the opportunity in every moment to then choose to align yourself with the vibration that you want. If it feels good in the body, align with that vibration. If it doesn't feel good in the body, challenge. Or if it doesn't feel good as a thought, right, and then it doesn't feel good in the body, then challenge where it's coming from. Because everything that's up coming from trust in the higher self is going to be fluid, it's going to be joyous, it's going to feel good. If it's anything less than that, it could still be your voice. So when asking, how do I know the difference between, is it my ego voice, is it my higher self, is it my angels or my guides, you're going to get lots of different voices and they're going to be speaking directly to you. And on one level, they are still you, but it's answering your intention of what you're asking. And then that can bring in more uncertainty to then ask your higher self again, which is only going to answer the vibration of what you're asking from. Not what you're asking, but the vibration of what you're asking from, where you're asking from. Take out the trash as the trash bins drive by. Take out the trash of the need for doing anything beyond just connecting and then trusting. So stop asking your higher self where you should go and what you should do. Just align, create that alignment, and then trust from there. Because if you're having to ask, there's a higher possibility that then you're asking from the place of uncertainty. Maybe not always. There's a higher possibility. So see if that resonates. And if it does, I hope it serves you on your next journey of inner discovery and your next journey of connecting with your higher self, right? Doesn't mean you can't connect with your higher self and allow messages to come in, right? But if you're having to ask for something, consider that it's coming from uncertainty rather than just allowing an answer. And if there is nothing coming through, then just trust that then nothing is meant to come through in that moment, right? I hope that supports you. If you liked this, please like it, and maybe share it with a friend who could use a little bit more self-trust in their life. Thank you. I'm Serah, the Conscious Lifestylist. I love you so much.